bet you I have a live stream from like 2018 or something like that with Bagel Goose. I'm 99% positive.
Maybe you Mandela affected into a world where that was the
It
case.
might, maybe, but I remember the name because I remember his icon was like a goose with like a bagel around his neck.
Or maybe it's just me because I don't remember over half the people I've interacted with in Comicsgate.
And this is long before I knew you, but
Yeah. It's kind of weird because I was one of the first people in the Cult of Raven, but due to like internet issues, after joining, I was gone for like half a year or so. And I came back, and then there was like 20 people in the Cult of Raven. Like, where did everybody come from?
And I always got you and someone else mixed up. Metal and Model, maybe? Or
Model 316.
maybe?
Very, very close names.
Yeah.
Actually, in like Rick's chats and stuff, all my name, Model, and Mallet would all just be interchangeable because they're all just so close to each other.
Yeah. I am not finding... Wait a minute. No. I am not finding the stream. But I swear to God, I have spoken to a guy named Bagel Goose, and I suspect it might be the same guy who got in trouble in Final Fantasy 14 this week.
For those of you listening, if any of this rings a bell to you and you happen to be somebody who has followed CG and recognize this name, we have a warrant out on this information just for Marsupial. No reward, but you'll feel better for doing it. And in the meantime, welcome to the Vomitorium episode 143, I think. As always, I am your host, The Metal, and joining me is my co-host, Marsupial Gamer. How you doing today?
Pretty good.
Yeah, that's good.
Pretty good. I've been working all day. I have a project that was supposedly due on Monday, but now it's due tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
So yippee, I get to work all night tonight probably, or late into the night after this.
That's horrible.
I know, I don't understand how this keeps happening. Same thing happened like 2 weeks ago. I gave it, because we make our own deadlines.
Yeah.
And so I told him, whatever it was I was working on would be done April 29th, a Friday. And then all of a sudden, like a week before, they were like, well, we actually need it that Monday. I was like, no, I can't get it done by then. I did get it done by then, but
yeah.
It happened again. I've been telling them I'll get it done by Monday, May 16th. And all of a sudden today, they're like, well, we need it tomorrow.
Oh.
Like, damn you.
It's like, what's the point of being able to set your own deadline if they're just going to give you one anyway?
I know. I don't understand. I'm like, it's not done yet.
Like, if they just gave you a deadline from the beginning, then you'd be able to plan around it.
I guess. But I base my deadlines on how long it takes me to do stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, well. So it's going to be a late night for me, but how are you doing?
I'm doing fine overall.
Yeah. Chad says happy birthday. It's not quite my birthday yet.
Yeah.
2 more days.
2 more days? Oh, well, we won't be streaming, so here's an early Merry Life ceremony to you.
Thank you. Thanks to Chad Middleton in the chat. Birthday's on Friday. My mom wants to go see...
Late one, too.
Yeah. My mom wants to go see Doctor Strange 2 with me for my birthday. And I'm like, okay, already seen it, but all right. I guess I'll go see it again. So
Did you tell us what you thought of it? I don't know if we've streamed since
No,
you've seen it. Okay, because
'cause I
I've heard
saw it on
very
Sun.
mixed things about that.
I saw it on Sunday. I liked it.
You did
Thought it was good. Yeah,
you feel like a Raimi movie?
yeah. I mean, I frankly I liked it about as much as I liked No Way Home. Did you see Spider-Man No Way Home?
No,
Oh, okay.
I had the opportunity to.
Um,
My brother rented it, and a bunch of them were watching it in the room. But I decided to work on stuff instead because I just did not like the previous two Spider-Man movies. I really had no interest in seeing
Yeah.
No Way Home.
oh, it was much better. It was much better than those two. Should see it.
Yes, but there's
But,
also no way to sell somebody on a third one if the first two sucked.
It's better than the two that sucked. But yeah, I watched. Did you watch Flashcast last week?
No.
Oh man, yeah, it was Yellow Flash versus Lofty Pixels were arguing about this movie, Doctor Strange 2, and I hadn't seen it at that time, and so I was frankly guessing that Yellow Flash was correct in that he thought it was terrible, and that he thought it was sort of the old Marvel bait and switch where, you know, it's supposed to be a Doctor Strange movie, but turns out that the main character is a different character that's
That's
typically
what I've
a
been
woman.
hearing. Like, people have been saying that Wanda was basically the main
Yeah.
character of the movie.
No, he was dead wrong. I saw the movie and I'm like, holy shit, Lofty Pixels was right. This was a Doctor Strange movie. I don't know what the fuck Yellow Flash was talking about. I was like, Doctor Strange is clearly the hero from beginning to end. And you know, America Chavez was in it, but like she didn't do anything. So
Was she
you
a
know,
tolerable person? That's all I care about.
well, yeah, because she didn't have any. It was not an America Chavez movie, GMT.
Yeah.
She really didn't have any personality whatsoever, and she wasn't. So here's the way I interpret it. I don't want to spoil it. I might do a review. I actually downloaded some videos, some trailer videos and stuff that I can compile together for
Just
a
get some little
background for
clips in there and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, so I can do a proper review. So I won't spoil it here, but I will say that her role in the movie was basically the MacGuffin.
Very minimal.
She was just the thing. You know, MacGuffin is sort of just the thing that everybody wants to try to get their hands on. It's like the magical object, right? That the whole movie's sort of about. So that was her. She didn't really have a personality. She was just the thing that everyone was after.
Yeah. Well, here my thing is, like, she was never the one that was my concern for that movie.
Yeah.
Right. Especially, like, even in the comics, before she had her own comic, she wasn't a horrible character. She was actually kind of just like a cool side character that popped up.
Yeah.
And it was when they gave a horrible writer her own run on the comic, that's when she became a bad character. So I was expecting, okay, one, they half ignore the comics anyway with these movies. And they probably haven't even read her run. If they probably saw like a few panels of her in an older comic. So I was assuming she was just going to be an okay side character. It was Wanda that worried me, knowing that she was going to be in the movie. But apparently that's not much of a problem either.
Not really. I mean, to be honest, I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say like she's just the villain of the movie. She's the antagonist.
That makes sense.
So I mean,
they kind of told us that going out of what was their
WandaVision.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. Some people were saying, well, I hate that you have to have seen WandaVision to understand this movie. That's not exactly true. It's hard to put myself in that position because I saw WandaVision. So there may be a bit of confusion if you haven't seen it. You may not know exactly what's going on because it kind of revolves around her kids. And her kids came into being in WandaVision. So there may be a bit of confusion there, but it's not that important. But yeah, I don't understand where this criticism comes from because it's like, okay, you've got the hero and you've got the villain. Doctor Strange is the hero from beginning to end. Wanda is the villain from beginning to end. There was no problem with that. I didn't have a problem with that.
Oh.
Like, I don't know why people had an issue. And some people were even going so far as to say Doctor Strange became a bumbling sidekick by the end. And I'm like, no, he didn't. Not at all.
Well, no, that's good to hear. So I didn't know that, because I haven't seen it yet, that Wanda was going to be the villain all the way to the end. See, we knew she was going to be villainous from the beginning, but if you haven't seen it yet, from my perspective, you go and you're like, okay, this is modern Marvel. They're probably going to make her be a hero by the end of it. But if she's villain beginning to end, then that's literally no problem.
Yeah, and I hope that didn't spoil too much.
No.
But I mean, yeah, that's it. It's a pretty straightforward
Campbell in it.
Yes,
I think he is.
Yes, he is.
I saw backstage stuff of him getting suited to look like
Yeah.
Doctor Strange like months ago. He may not show up that way, but that was just like a little joke. So you assume if he's on set, he's going to be in it in some way or form.
Yeah. He was definitely in it in kind of a funny way. But yeah, I heard, I was sitting there listening, I was thinking about how, I'd heard some people talking about it and saying that Wanda kind of took the spotlight away. I mean, she did sort of. I mean, as a lot of good villain characters, they can sort of take the spotlight, but that's not a bad thing.
Well, especially
I mean,
like in a Raimi movie. Like, let's look at all the the three Spider-Man he made. Toby playing Peter was a very important role, but there were times where both Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina in their respective movies just completely stole the thunder when they were there.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And, I don't even think she did to that degree. I mean, I really don't understand the criticism that said some people said that it almost wasn't even a Doctor Strange movie. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? He was in every scene.
Yeah.
From beginning to end. I mean,
that'd be like
centered around.
And the way that people have said it too, the criticism doesn't make sense to me, even having not seen it, because the way it's framed, it'd be like saying Forrest Gump really wasn't a Forrest Gump movie because every scene was about somebody else.
Yeah.
It's like, but it's about his interaction with somebody else. That's the whole movie. That's literally the whole movie.
Yeah, and I mean, the only thing I could vaguely say is that America Chavez was in it, but she was clearly sort of his sidekick who really doesn't do anything, definitely doesn't steal any scenes, because like I said, she's like very little personality at all. And really at the end of the day, she's just sort of the plot device. Really, that's it.
Well, here's the standard.
She could have been replaced with a magical bauble.
Is she a brick? Does she have more or less personality than Lightning from Final Fantasy 13?
Oh, about the same. I think she's about the same.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's like the low bar right there. It's like as low as the limbo bar goes.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter because she's not the main character. She's not important. I mean, she's important in that the plot kind of revolves around her ability, but other than that, like I said, she could be replaced by some magical doodad and it would have been the exact same movie. It's just she has a special power that everybody wants. So,
I can punch dimensions.
Yeah. That was kind of cool. I like the way she did that. And it's kind of funny. Anyway. It was cool. It was cool the way I was going to say something.
Oh, that was another thing I was worried about because I saw Shuma Gorath in the trailer.
Who is that?
But it looked like a big eyeball tentacle monster.
Oh.
Embrace chaos.
Is that like Marvel's answer to Starro or whatever?
I think he's older than Starro.
He looked like Starro. He's in one scene.
Starro is pretty old. Starro might be old. I don't know. They're both old characters.
Yeah. I need to figure out a better place to put the chat.
So here's the thing. Like I saw in the trailer, and it looked like they were making him a goof. like just kind of like this character that's there for a gag. Like here's this interdimensional being that's trying to get America Chavez.
Yeah.
But like Shuma Gorath is one of the higher power beings in Marvel. He's like Mephisto level almost. He's above Dormammu. He also has a realm of his own where he's like infinitely powerful within his realm. Dormammu has even served him previously, and he's actually kind of like one of those pinnacle villains in the Doctor Strange like mythos. And like throwing him out as like a little gag type thing is kind of a waste of a character.
Yeah, I didn't know all that, but now that you've told me, then I would have to answer Chad. No, the movie did not do him justice. It was kind of a gag. I mean, it was a serious scene that went on, and it seemed pretty powerful, but not like that.
Yeah, he's also in like Marvel vs. Capcom. Very fun character. He shoots laser beams for his supers. And just the whole fucking.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently it isn't
I don't
movie. It should have been a Shuma Gorath movie. It would have been a way better villain than Wanda.
Well, and I don't think they ever name it at all. So, I mean, it might not be that. It might just be
it's a lesser Gorath.
Yeah, it's maybe it's a baby Gorath or something. I don't know.
A reflection of Shuma Gorath in a smaller dimension.
Yeah.
He has done that before, right? Like, they fought him in New York City, where he's, like, just the size of a skyscraper shooting lasers at things, and he's obviously nowhere near as powerful as he is in his realm, so maybe they did okay with that.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Because in the beginning, and I think this was in the trailer, he's, like, invisible, and, like, Doctor Strange has to do this thing to make him invisible. It's kind of weird. So maybe he was a projection. He definitely wasn't...
Pretty low bar, GMT. Is it better or worse than the Batman?
Yeah, I liked it a lot better. A lot better. I didn't like the Batman. Yeah. I like this movie. Yeah, I mean, plus he was only like 2 stories high. He wasn't as tall as a skyscraper.
Yeah. Well, he obviously being like an eldritch being, he can change his size and stuff.
Oh, okay. Joshua says, I think his name is Gigantos. Yeah, that sounds familiar. Did they say that?
I don't know.
Yes. That's what they called him. Is that a character in the book, in the comics? I don't know.
I'm trying to think. Because that's such a vague name. There could be like a dozen characters that have a name like that. As opposed to like Shuma Gorath, which is a very memorable name. If you've ever heard somebody say that, you're like, I remember that name.
Maybe this was a minion of Shuma Gorath. That would make more sense.
If they were setting up for a bigger thing later. Because honestly, I don't think the MCU's got much life left in it, but I would love to see a proper Shuma Gorath movie with Doctor Strange before it dies altogether.
Yeah. There was also some sort of being at the beginning that I don't remember if they named it, but it seemed pretty powerful at first. It was kind of like this demonic shape-shifting thing that I don't remember. I guess he defeated it at the beginning. I don't remember. Or it just kind of disappeared. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't recall. But anyway, not important. These were just all the sort of the beginning little action sequences just to kind of get you into the mood. But yeah, I liked it. It's a recommend for me. I don't know if I think Lofty gave it an 8 out of 10. Yeah, I'd say 7.5 out of 10. Something like that. Pretty good.
Okay.
I mean, very good. Very good. So that's my spoiler-free review.
As spoiler-free as it can be with all the random tidbits that were thrown out. Yeah.
Yeah, but like the ending, like I don't want to talk about the ending, but it was better than Yellow Flash, made it out to be. in Flashcast.
Yeah. Well, also, listen, I'm very critical of the MCU in general, especially the later half of it. But like, Yellow Flash is like more than critical of the MCU, right?
Yeah.
The last few reviews he's given of him is like there's literally no redeeming factor to whatever movie he's watched.
Yeah. There's another scene in there, a bit of an infamous scene that I don't want to give too much away, but there was basically you remember I think Endgame where like all the female characters all attacked at once.
Yeah, they were
And
almost
it
like
was-
setting up their female Marvels Avengers. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very contrived and stupid and like yay girl power. There was a scene like that in this movie, but you know, it went on for all of 60 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. So it was kind of cheesy, but it was like, whatever. But there was also that same scene. I don't want to give it away, but there's some deaths in there of characters that have really pissed people off. And I'll just say, when you see it in context, there's no reason to be pissed off about it. Just zero reason. It's just some of the criticisms I've seen have been stupid. And so I really feel like I should do a spoiler review where I explain that in more detail and be like, why are people upset about this? There's zero reason for people to be upset.
Well, okay, here's a big problem in general, right? And it's the way that the MCU has been designed as like this big roller coaster ride, right? It's less of a journey and more of like you're on a theme park ride. And these people get attached to certain parts of the attraction, and when a character dies, it's not like that you've passed that part of attraction. It's like taking away your favorite ride at Disneyland. They're not there on the journey to see the narrative progress, and it's often good when characters die when you're on a journey like that. Just like, no.
Well, let me just say,
not the little boats.
Yeah. Well, let me just say, just remember the movie is called The Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
So when a certain character dies, just remember
it's not necessarily
there's
the
a
one that you even
multiverse.
like. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's also a big problem is the multiverse.
That's
While
all
it can
I'll
be
say.
fun, right? If they did this a lot earlier, if multiverse stuff was restricted to maybe one person story, Doctor Strange would have been the best one to do that with instead of Spider-Verse stuff. But the fact that the multiverse is being dragged into everything, it starts with Spider-Man. Well, technically, it starts with Infinity War, but then it goes into Spider-Man. You got Doctor Strange, and it's connecting everything. Nothing special anymore. No character or plot point has any meaning because you can always just hop to a universe where that thing did or didn't happen.
Yeah. I think they kind of closed that loop, though.
They tried with Loki, but then they opened it back up.
Yeah. But now they seem to, hopefully. But all I'm saying is, when you see it in context, it's like, oh, well, just don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. In fact, it was kind of exciting because it teases some other characters that, you know, if they show up in 616, it would be pretty awesome. So.
This way, I hate the way, because Marvel does, like, with their multiverse, they do the many worlds hypothesis, like almost to a T, true. So there's an infinite number of universes, and because they're doing the multi-world hypothesis, literally nothing is special in Marvel. There is an infinite number of universes where Uncle Ben hasn't died. Right. Yeah. The way DC does multiverse, ever since they did the reboot of New 52, is a little better because there's a limited number of Earths that each function their own way. So it's not like something's just happening an infinite number of times. This thing only happens the way it did in that universe. And that's better because even the main Marvel universe, 616, because they're doing many worlds hypothesis, there's also in random intervals out there an infinite number of universes that happens exactly the same way that it happens in the canon universe.
Yeah. Well, they seem to imply that they're going to stick with 616 from now on.
Yeah.
Although, I guess like the next Spider-Verse movie might happen, but that's a
Oh
cartoon.
no,
so who cares?
it's 1016. I think, or is it, or is it 10 616? So because the
Oh,
MCU is its own labeled universe.
well, in this
Yeah.
movie they didn't. In this movie, they explicitly said this is 616.
Oh, they've changed it. Okay, because like
So
they used to actually have it labeled like on the toys and
yeah,
everything too. Back when like Iron Man came out, it was like 10,616 or whatever. Basically, it's still 616, but they added that number in front because it's the MCU
yeah.
version of everything.
Well, maybe they just skipped that part of the number, but they explicitly called it that in this movie. So it seems to me like they've wrapped up the whole multiverse stuff, and that they're not gonna. It wouldn't really make sense for them to revisit that again. So, I mean, unless, well, anyway,
Until the next movie where they change their mind.
yeah, possible. Could.
It seems to be
But
how
yeah,
it is with
I
most of
don't.
these movies. It's like this is the way it is until the next movie where we change our mind.
Mm, but yeah, I don't understand. Chad Middleton says they killed off Squirrel Girl. Well, I hope so. I don't know.
I was disappointed because they were gonna do what was gonna be the movie? It was a TV series they were gonna do. I think it was gonna be a New Warrior series, and they were gonna have the girl from the AT&T commercials was gonna play Squirrel Girl. I'm like, oh, but she would have been perfect for that. And they just
Did she
completely no. Well, I don't know. They just canceled that whole show, and I don't know if they're bringing Squirrel Girl into the MCU.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But that would have been cute. Fizchozo, welcome. He says Loki contradicted most of MCU continuity.
Yeah, but then they undid that by like the end of Loki, by reintroducing free will. Like if everything was stupid about it. Like when I say the end, they're still doing stuff with Loki. They're bringing it back and stuff. It's everything about it's stupid. It's all stupid.
It's all stupid.
Yeah.
Well, you definitely didn't. And I heard somebody say, well, you needed to have seen Loki to understand this movie. I'm like,
I think
no,
the
you
only
definitely did
reason
not.
you would need to see Loki is I saw one of the producers or writers complaining about it, is that it explains the rules of the multiverse. That's like the only real connection that it has, because they did have to follow the same rules of the multiverse that Loki established. But like, you do really need to know the rules of the multiverse to watch a movie.
I don't. They didn't really follow any rules, as far as I could tell.
Apparently they did, because the writer was complaining they had to strictly adhere to what the rules that were set up in Loki.
Oh, well.
Now, as a viewer, that may mean absolutely nothing to you, because that may never actually come up in a visual way. It's just like background mechanics to the writing.
I guess. But, yeah, I mean, the only rule seemed to be there is a multiverse, and there is a way to travel between them. That was about it. GMT says, I'd watch an MCU movie where Squirrel Girl is the big bad and is as much of a threat as Thanos.
Well, she did apparently beat Thanos. Just her and Tippy Toe by themselves. It wasn't a clone or anything. It was actually Thanos.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a gag. And that's the thing about Squirrel Girl, is all of her best victories happened off screen, because she was, even before they ruined her with that comic, she was like a gag character. She was the undefeatable Squirrel Girl. She just beats everyone. That was the joke. Yeah. She even beat Deadpool by telling him to go away, and he actually listened to her.
Yeah. Well, I didn't see her in this movie.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she wasn't in there, maybe as a background character. But no, I thought America Chavez was a cute little character to stick in there.
Yeah.
For no particular reason.
Enough about Marvel.
But enough about it.
Let's talk about something good instead.
All right.
But what is good?
Something
I would like to
bagel
say
juice.
I would like to say that the Nintendo Indie World Showcase was good, but there was barely anything to get excited about at it.
No, right? I watched the whole thing and I'm like, are they going to show any good games?
Yeah. It was like I was saying before, at least they do it. I like that they do
Yeah.
these indie showcases every so often, because you like PlayStation or Microsoft, or even like obviously Steam's getting indie games on the day, and they drop all the time. And maybe once in a blue moon, Microsoft will do like an indie showcase, but Nintendo will do these like once a quarter. Like, hey, here's all the new indie games that are dropping on us. Go support these small creators. Look at what fun you can have.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you what games. You want me to tell you what games I absolutely hated?
Yes. Let's do that. Process of elimination.
Yeah. Number one, worst one of the whole showcase. We Are OFK,
Yeah, that one looked dumb.
which let me read you.
It's a musical biopic.
Let me read you how Nintendo described it. If I can find it. Where was it? Where was it? Come on. All right. Experience a music biopic series and interactive EP. What's that? Extended play?
Yeah.
About dreaming, dating, and paying rent in Los Angeles. I want to play a game about paying rent.
No, you know what? That sounds, I guess, a little bad, but it doesn't have to be, right? Because if you did it right, I remember there was this part of Scott Pilgrim where he and Wallace were worried about paying their rent. And like Scott even got like a job at a vegan cafe for a while, the same one that Steven Stills was working at. And they were worried about paying rent, and they got up to their boss or their landlord, and he was like, "No, you guys are caught up." You're like, "What? We're caught up? How? We haven't paid this month." It's like, "Yes, you did. When you moved in, you paid first and last month. This was the last month on your lease. From now on, you're paying month to month."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but there was like this whole thing about like having to get the money for the rent and everything. It's like you could actually make a game fun if you put like timelines and you had like fun gameplay in between. You're just trying to get enough money before you hit a time like the deadline. But that's is a visual novel. That's not what they're doing. But I'm just saying, scoff at it. You could make a game about paying rent fun.
It doesn't even seem like a visual novel. I don't think there's any branching or anything.
No, that's not the only thing that makes a visual novel is branching. A visual novel just tells a narrative story in a way like that. We just like the branching ones because it gives you a lot of agency. Phoenix Wright is a visual novel, and there's puzzles in it.
Oh yeah, and Chad brings up a good point. Animal Crossing is really just about paying rent, or paying your mortgage anyway.
Yeah. Like you can make a game that's fun about paying rent. That's
But yeah, it's about a band, an actual band called OFK.
Yeah.
And
it's
just
a virtual band called OFK.
Oh,
so there's real people, right? But I would say it from their description, it's equivalent to the holograms from Gem and the holograms. There's real people, but then there's a virtual band that, or like the Gorillas are technically a virtual band. It's actually like a single person, or there were two people at first, and the band itself is like fake.
I thought it was an existing band. Like I thought it might actually be like a K-pop band or something like that.
But yeah, it's a virtual band called OFK. It's basically a musical visual novel that's centered around their songs. That's why it's an EP. So an extended play is less than an album, but more than like a record, which would have like the single and the B-side with it, right? So an EP is going to usually be, I don't usually think you call it with 3, so it's going to be somewhere between like 4 to 8 songs. And you could have technically an album at 8 songs, but it's an album once it starts hitting that like half-hour play.
I mean, it's basically watching a movie. A couple of moments when you can interact.
And they're just new chapters every week through the summer. So, I mean, for people who are into that thing, you're going to get free updates as long as you buy the game.
No gameplay, so I'll pass.
Yeah.
Actual.
Buck says there's an XCOM style game that requires you to reserve money. You have to pay to rent your office. I like that. I don't know what game that is, but that sounds good. I like when games force you to think about stuff like resource management like that. It's kind of like Warcraft. You used to have to increase your quarters to make sure you had enough for your army, because if you didn't have enough food for your army, then you couldn't make more units.
Yeah. Well, the other similar game that I hated is Wayward Strand.
Yeah, that
which
one
they
didn't look
described-
interesting either.
Yeah. They described it as a narrative adventure, which to me means
Like a
visual
walking
novel.
simulator or something. Yeah, it's a visual novel. Walking simulators are barely not visual novels. They just have
Yeah.
you like hold forward.
Yeah, no, this one looks like pretty much a visual novel as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to do a visual novel, at
Do
least
something
have
fun.
scantily clad women and with swords
Maybe.
or something.
At least you got to be over the top about it, right? You don't want something that's necessarily just too boring. Like, again, one of my favorite visual novel series is Phoenix Wright, which has some of the most over the top characters and interesting gameplay. While there's not branching paths, there's kind of like the I Spy. You do have to go around and find your clues. There is like the puzzle of solving the court case live and stuff like that. Like, you do something fun if you're going to do a visual novel.
Yeah. Now this one looks more like walking around, talking to people.
It's got an
getting to know-
airship at least, though. That's kind of cool.
Flying hospital, where you're talking to like old people who are dying, presumably.
Probably. It'd be like, remember when they made the Red Cross ship that they were going to send down to Puerto Rico, but it got stuck,
Yeah.
right? It's going to be like that, but flying. We're going to make a flying Red Cross ship. That's how we're going to go get relief to people. It's going to be huge.
GMT says, why can't we have scantily clad men in visual novels? You can, I suppose.
Troubleshooter is the game Buck was thinking of. Okay, I'll check that out later. That actually sounds kind of cool. But yeah, no, you definitely have scanning clad men. That would actually probably sell really well because there's not a lot of those, right? Like, again, you got to be interesting. You got to be over the top if you want to sell something like that. And if you had like, usually with a visual novel, like a dating sim, you want to have like a good range of like character types and body types for women. You could do that with the men too. You could have everything from like your twink to your like macho man Randy Savage, like, and everything in between.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, what was that?
They do have one. The
Boyfriend Dungeon?
Well, what was the? There was also
Boyfriend
one with the normal
Dungeon?
boots. I'm trying to remember the name of that one. Something Academy.
Normal
certain-
boots?
Normal Boots. It was a production group. Like the Completionist, JonTron, Pro Jared. Back when all those people were together. Peanut Butter Gamer.
Oh.
There's
Oh,
some
okay.
game it starts with an A. Something Academy. I'm gonna have to look up the name of it. But that one's all got guys because it was all the Asagao Academy. That was it. It's all the normal boots guys. You can go to school and date them, which I'm sure they probably look back upon pretty poorly. Because they are in a game with JonTron and Pro Jared, and the rest of the guys have tried to distance themselves from him, which is funny because they're doing better than literally any of the people that have distanced themselves from him.
Huh.
But yeah, what was
there you go, GMT.
Boyfriend Dungeon? I forgot
your
about
game.
that one too.
So you don't remember that one?
No, I remember now that you brought it up. I didn't
Oh.
remember it. Like, you had to jog my memory about it.
Yeah, that was the one that was all controversial because one of the characters was toxic or something like that.
Yeah, but that's what you want. right? It's
Yeah.
like one of the coolest character types that people see in visual novels is like the toxic yandere girl that might kill like the
Mhm.
other options and stuff. Like you want
Yeah.
characters like that in a game. You know what it does is it gets it out of your system so you don't
Mhm.
accidentally date people like that in real life. That's what people don't understand. The
Yeah,
whole point
right.
of fiction is to like stretch your imagination so you can kill off bad versions of yourself in your head and not do that shit in real life. That's why The Simpsons was such a
There
good
you go.
show. It told you what not to do.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh god, that reminds me of School Days. School Days only has, I think, one good ending, where you actually end up killing the Andre girl, because in all the other endings, she kills whoever you go after. One day she even shows up with like the head of the girl you were trying to date in a bowling ball bag.
Mhm.
I
In
think
what game?
the School Days. It's an old visual novel. They made an anime off of it. But the one game that actually looked really cool to me, or two of them were okay, but the one that I thought actually looked cool was the roguelike game. You said it reminded you of Don't Starve, and that was Cult of the Lamb, because it's got like this really cool black, white, and red, kind of like classic horror aesthetic in pattern, but it's also like a cutesy game at the same time.
Yeah, well, I thought the moment I saw it, I thought, "Oh, is this a clay game?" Because
Yeah.
it looks like Don't Starve or Oxygen Not Included. Well, mostly like Don't Starve. But I can play it quick.
Yeah, if you want. Like that one, I thought actually looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Slow it
it's
down.
like I'd actually spend money on it cool, but it does look pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's the color portion of it. And then it'd do like the flashes into the black and white.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got cute characters. I don't know exactly what's going on, but yeah, it looks like. I mean,
Yeah.
there's farming, there's fighting things.
Yeah, it's very, very similar to Don't Starve.
Yeah.
This one is a little bit more focused on like starting as a settlement as opposed to like building up your campsite. But like it's going heavily on the cult themes. So you get like these really crazy encounters that happen.
Yeah. So yeah, this one looks pretty interesting.
And I think the only other one that seemed interesting was another Crab's Treasure, which you would say was like a Shell's like.
Yeah, well, they said it was funny in that I thought they said Souls like.
They did call it a Souls like.
Where was that?
Yeah.
It's around here somewhere.
It's that one, first column,
Oh.
bottom row.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to be that far back. All right. Yeah, so a Souls like where you are a crab
Yes.
underwater.
You play a hermit crab.
So, I mean, are there bosses that kill you and all kinds of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, well, you
Yes.
could die to almost anything.
Yeah.
I like the idea
Like-
of being a hermit crab though, because one of the things about those type of games is like changing your armor and stuff like that. So as a hermit
yeah.
crab, like you could effectively just get a different back for your armor.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks kind of fun. Like it's got a nice aesthetic to it. I think that's an important thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So he finds like a cup
Yeah.
or a mug. Uses that.
Souls like, shells like.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess you find different shells that.
It's got cool
for
mechanics.
different
I like the grapple.
Mm-hmm. I think it looks good.
Yeah, like this is a game that I definitely have interest, and I might eventually play it, but it's definitely not going to be at like the top of the list.
Yeah. Well, there, I guess those are your
Yeah.
big boss fights there.
Yeah. It's got some nice platform. Like, they call it a Souls-like, and I'm sure to some degree that combat's like that. But it actually just seems like a platformer adventure game because there's a lot of
Sort of.
verticalness to it. Like, there's the grappling, there's a lot of floating down in the water too, using the water mechanics of getting to lower platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And those were the
Yeah.
two that stuck out to me. Everything else was kind of like bland.
Yeah, Electhead looked kind of cool. It was reminiscent of VVVVV or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
VVVVVV.
6Vs.
Or, yeah, 6Vs. Or similar to, what's a game called? Super Meat Boy or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Or even like I Want to Be the Guy, but not grueling.
Mm-hmm.
Just the typical type of platformy, unique mechanic exploration game.
Yeah. It's kind of cool because you basically light up these sections of the map. You can detach your head.
Yeah. Kind of it kind of gives me like Chibi Robo meets Mega Man vibes, just the way the aesthetic
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. So yeah, that looked pretty
Yeah.
cool. And then
And then there's the city builder mini motorways, which I'm not super into city
Oh, yeah.
builders. Some games are pretty fun, but for people who are into city builders, it seems like a pretty simple one that you can lose some time in.
it's not really a city builder so much as a road builder. And I actually
but
wanted to show
that's like
you.
the limited part of city building.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's the same company that did Mini Metro, which you can get
Yeah.
right now. This is involves like trams and stuff, and you can choose the city you want to start in.
Yeah.
And I've played this a lot, so if it's anything like this, it's kind of a fun diversion. But you can't even.
Mhm.
You're showing my video, so you can't see what I'm showing on the screen.
Oh yeah. I saw you holding your phone. I could enlarge you.
No, that's all right. Well,
Okay.
never mind. People can see it. But yeah, there's a game called Mini Metro that is available on mobile.
Yeah.
Which when I saw this, I was like, oh, that looks just like Mini Metro.
Yeah, so I mean, this
I
is
mean-
City Builder. It's just what they'll do is like a challenge game, right? Where they'll put you in a town. It's like, okay, build the transit way for this place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Here, I'll unshare here.
Yeah.
There we go. Am I blurry all of a sudden? There we go.
I don't know, maybe.
Anyway, yeah, I was just showing off Mini Metro. Oop, there we go. Which is kind of a fun little game.
Yeah.
Do I have? Yeah. Oh well, now I'm trying to close it. So yeah, it's like a little puzzle game. Just trying to basically connect up buildings so that they don't get overloaded with passengers or something.
Yeah. And like I have to give some of these developers props. Like some of these games look good visually. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
it's like Gunbrella. Do I really want to play Gunbrella? The concept is good about a detective with an umbrella gun. All right. I think I'd rather just read a comic or watch a cartoon about the character than play the game that they're showing, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right. The only one that I would maybe consider, and I'd have to see what the gameplay is actually like, buying is that Cult of the Lamb.
Yeah.
And I have to see if it's as enjoyable as a Don't Starve or something like that. So it's pretty disappointing.
Yeah. It was like Wild Frost. I like the aesthetic of the game, but then I saw that it's a deck building game. It's like, I don't want to play. Yeah, where you like you're building a dead card deck as you play.
Oh, a card deck game.
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't
like,
even catch that. I was kind of watching it. I had it on while I was working, so I might have
yeah,
missed it.
understandable.
Yeah, you're right. It is a deck building game. Next.
Yeah, it's like the aesthetic looks great. If it was like any other
Yeah.
game type, it would probably ask, but like I don't want to play a deck building game.
Yeah.
It's actually one of the things that
Well,
stops me from playing Slay the Spire, which my brother's really into. And it's a roguelike deck building game where you're picking up cards to do the turn based battles. And I like turn based battles,
mhm.
but I don't really like the deck building games. It's one of the things that stops me from going back and replaying Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. It's one of the things that turned me off of like Paper Mario Sticker Star and Color Splash because you're building a deck to use attacks in that one too. And it's like I
Yeah.
don't want that. It's boring to me because on top of grinding levels, you're grinding resources, and it's just a pain in the ass because you have to waste resources to grind resources, and you feel like you're just wasting your own time half the time.
Yeah. I thought Silt looked cool. It's like black and white.
Oh yeah, the
Kind of
aesthetic is
reminded
really
me.
good.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of. Oh gosh, I can't even remember the names
Kind
of it.
of,
It,
at
like
least looking at it reminds me of Limbo.
that's it. I think that's the
Yeah,
game I
you
was
think you're
thinking of.
thinking Limbo? Yeah,
Limbo, yeah. Or Little Nightmares,
yeah.
maybe a little bit. Yeah, Limbo though is actually the game I was thinking of. That it really reminded me of.
I like
So I mean,
Limbo. Limbo's a good game.
mhm. It looked interesting. I think it might be more interesting to watch somebody stream on Twitch
Yeah, because the
than to
puzzles
actually play.
really didn't look that like interesting to me looking at the trailer.
Mhm.
The environment looks cool. I like the whole aesthetic. It's very. I don't know if I would say full on horror, but it's in that direction.
Yeah, yeah. But it's all underwater.
Yeah,
You're like a diver.
which is already a very harrowing environment as it is underwater. Like
Yeah,
the deep sea is a frightening place.
yeah, yeah. It looked like they were big old fish creatures with great big pointy teeth.
Yeah, I think
That's really the only.
I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean there were several others, but nothing worth even mentioning.
Yeah, because a lot of them just got like blips of screen time. There was like One
Mhm.
Shot, which is a world machine engine. Eh. Um, Gibbon, which is like you play as gibbons swinging in trees. Eh.
Yeah,
Idol Manager. It's exactly what it sounds like, and you're managing an idol, like an anime idol character, VTuber style person. Uh,
oh, is that what that was?
yeah, it's an idol manager. You are the manager for an idol, like a Japanese idol. It's very
Yeah.
anime. Yeah, I mean, if you're into that stuff, if you like idol stuff, it's probably good for you. Card Shark from Devolver
Mhm.
Digital. There's a demo of it free right now, so you can decide whether you like Card Shark or not. Um, this was a long ass title. Curse to Golf from Planet of Lana House Thunderfall is turning golf into a wild 2D action game, which I didn't see much of it. I'd have to go watch the full trailer. I'm kind of
Yeah.
interested because I love things with ridiculously long ass titles. They're usually
I
the
didn't even
most
see
interesting
that.
things. Yeah,
I didn't even see
these
that
were
on the Nintendo.
all the stuff that just got like a blip of screen time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like during the montage. A guidebook of Babel, the Butterfly Effect game, and Opus Echo of Star Song Full Bloom edition, which is just a console re-release of like a PC indie game. It's also a
Yeah.
visual novel.
What is Totally Accurate Battle Simulator?
That
That was,
is a game that's been around for a while too. Tabs. It's
yeah.
finally getting a Switch release.
They kept
Yeah.
saying is about like wobbling. I guess all the characters kind of wobble around.
Yeah, it basically just gives you a bunch of units and stuff, and you can like simulate battles. There's like a campaign mode or whatever where you have to like just like build teams to solve battles. But other than that, it's just like you throw like 100 war elephants against 1,000-foot soldiers and see what happens.
And I'm sure it's totally accurate.
You could see how
Hence
many
the name.
chickens it would take to kill a T-Rex.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Very nice.
Soundfall was another one that was got a full trailer. Which Fight to the Beat is a rhythm game dungeon crawler. You pick 5 heroes, dress them up, kind of like, I don't know, stage style. Like they have to have their outfits like they would for a band, and then you go off and you fight to over like 140 songs.
Okay.
Yeah, like, a lot of these games, I'm not gonna fault their ideas. Some of them are trying some cool things. Rhythm-based fighting and dungeon crawling games are kind of cool. What was that one?
Crypt of the Necrodancer?
Yeah, that was the one I was thinking of. The one that they made the Hyrule rhythm game after.
Yeah.
That was one of the first ones. There was also, there's a what was it? There's a Viking one that has like the word Valhalla built into it, but there's one where there's a Viking rhythm game. I cannot remember the name of it, but it's a very common thing to do now. It used to be novel, so you kind of have to like find a way to make it novel. It's just it doesn't look that interesting to me.
Yeah. Cadence of Hyrule. That's the other
Cadence of Hyrule, that was it. Yeah, yeah. What else? Ooblets didn't look fun.
What is it? Batora Lost Haven?
Oh, that was the third-person action game. Kind of like yin and yang. You have to balance your physical and mental energy as you navigate underground puzzles. It's it. Just looked like a standard third-person action game.
Yeah. It's interesting. It looks like a cross between like Diablo and Gauntlet.
Yeah. It could be fun, but I would have to see more than just what they showed in the trailer. I'd have to go like maybe watch somebody play some gameplay to know if I'd be interested in it or not.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And let's see, which ones are available now? Soundfall, the rhythm game I just mentioned. Mini Motorways, Gibbon Beyond the Trees, Opus Echo Star Song, and that demo for Card Shark are all available right now if any of them actually did sound interesting to anyone.
Yeah.
Not that we helped sell any of with the descriptions I was giving anyway.
Yeah.
Listen, if you want me to be more hyped about your game, you're going to have to pay. Or make a better game.
Yeah. Give it to us for free. We'll pretend to.
That is a
enjoy
form
it.
of payment,
Yeah.
We'll hype it up, but then give it like a totally accurate score afterwards. Be like the opposite of IGN, where all they do is complain about the game, but then they give it like a 9.8 out of 10 anyway. Too much water, 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it for the Nindy Showcase.
Yep. I think we covered everything there.
I think we did. And I think even if it was briefly, I think I mentioned every single game name that popped up. So there are rumors going around again. These ones a little bit better than the last time people thought there was going to be a Switch Pro. I still have my doubts, but these ones are a bit more credible that there's going to be a better Switch coming.
Yeah.
And once again, it was from an NVIDIA leak. Not like the last two times haven't been related to an NVIDIA leak, so that doesn't really add too much credence to it. But there was more details this time, so that helps it out a little bit. I think on top of that, the bigger news was that Nintendo came out with an interview with Furukawa where they are concerned about their transition for their next console. It's a concern for the company.
Mm-hmm. I saw that article.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which,
I feel like at this point they should just do a fully compatible, backwards compatible Switch 2.
yeah. Like, there's no point
It's
in
like,
doing like
don't,
Switch Pro. Just transition to the next
or Pro, or
generation, or you know.
whatever you want to call it, but just make it just another Switch,
Yeah, yeah,
just a faster Switch. You know, it's like, don't just stop innovating. just pause.
yeah, yeah.
'Cause
Like, I
you've
think they could
gotten
do
to,
the equivalent of like the 3DS to the DS for like the Switch. Like, you
yeah.
still make it completely backwards compatible, run all of the same online system. You don't have to change any of that. You can just make a cooler Switch. If you want to add something to it, you can, as long as it doesn't break the mold.
Yeah, and they mentioned in that article, like trying to get people, try to keep customers by giving them stuff related to their like Nintendo ID, and I thought
Yeah.
that sounded like it was alluding to the Switch Online stuff. That whatever the next system will play all that same Switch, will have a Switch Online or equivalent, so you'll still have all those same games.
Yeah, they've been talking about that for a while, so that's probably what they're alluding to, because they've been talking about how they want to have a continuous stream from console to console, where you no longer have to worry about the old days of how, like, oh, do I really want to get this new console? It's gonna have no games. It'll make maybe three
Yeah.
games I want near the launch window, and Nintendo's
And doesn't
always
play anything before it. Yeah.
yeah, and Nintendo's always been behind compared to other consoles in the fact that because they don't just report all their games or like have copies of games, with the sole exception of like Twilight Princess was on both the GameCube and the Wii, and Breath of the Wild was on both the Wii U and the Switch. That's usually an exception, right? That's not
Yeah.
how Nintendo does it. While Xbox and PlayStation have been doing that every single generation. But at the same time, Nintendo has kept their price low, and their consoles have had more longevity than the other ones to make you actually want to keep it. While PlayStation, Xbox have been doing like the trade-in policy with partnered with GameStop. It's like, no, you can get the new one at a discount by putting your old console towards the trade-in. Just different operations of business that work either way. But I think they're actually trying to make it to where you want to adopt the new console at launch, which
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
been the smoothest launch for them, I think, in the history of any game console.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was thinking that when I was reading that, and they were saying, you know, we don't want another Wii U.
Oh,
And I'm
yeah.
like, just make a Switch 2 Pro, whatever you want to call it. That's just, you know, maybe the screen's a little bigger or clearer or whatever, faster processor, but basically just a backwards compatible Switch. And I mean, I would be fine with it even if it wasn't, if the games weren't forward compatible, like with the 3DS games.
It's the new
You could-
Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, there you go. Call it a new Nintendo Switch. Perfect.
Oh, God, that would
Um,
confuse so many people. There was a problem with the new 3DS because people thought they'd be able to see, at least technically all the games did play on the original 3DS, but they thought they would have the full experience of the few games that needed the extra RAM if they went off and bought a 3DS, and then they were wondering why certain of the side levels in Hyrule Warriors were literally unplayable because it
Yeah.
could not load in the number of enemies you needed to kill, or like
Yeah.
certain parts in Monster Hunter would just lag to a standstill, right?
Hmm.
And like, but it said it was a 3DS game. I could play it on the 3DS. It's like they need to make sure.
Yeah.
This is the problem with the Wii U as well, right? Because talking about a Switch 2, it literally might just have like a Wii U problem if they use the same name because people are used to
Mm.
Nintendo consoles having genuinely different names every single generation that they'll think they could go and buy an old Switch and be able to play this Switch game.
Yeah. Call it a switcheroo.
The switcheroo. The Nintendo Swatch.
Nintendo
Yeah.
Swatch. I don't know. But yeah, uh, man, I even, I was playing around with modding 3DSs, and
Yeah.
you couldn't get the old 3DS to stream over Wi-Fi. Like there was a way to do that with modding, but you had to have the new 3DS. So that was the only thing that could stream fast enough over Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to make it clear that you cannot play the new games on the old system.
It's hard. Even for companies that don't normally have that legacy of drastically different names. Like
Mhm.
Xbox didn't follow the 1, 2, 3 pattern like PlayStation did, but they still like their names were like Xbox and then there was Xbox something afterwards,
Mhm.
right? Um but even going from Xbox One, which was already a stupidly confusing name, going from like 360 to One because they're like, what? But is the original Xbox? What are we doing
Mhm.
here? But then they went to the Xbox
Yeah,
Series,
yeah,
and when that launched, people did not know the difference between an Xbox One and an Xbox Series, and some people were buying Xbox Ones thinking they were getting the new Xbox because they just weren't in the loop.
yeah.
Especially because they called them
That's
the same. There's
confusing.
because there's the Xbox One X and the Xbox
X.
One S, and then there's the
Yeah,
Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S. It's like,
yeah. That was confusing as hell. It's like PlayStation's the only one that's gotten it right.
yeah, it's just 1, 2, 3, 4.
Like PlayStation 1, followed by 2, and then
Yeah,
3, and then 4, and then 5. Like that's not that hard. Um,
Nintendo was almost there. Their original naming convention wasn't that bad, though obviously it was going to hit limits where it went from like there's the NES, then there's the Super NES, which almost sounds
mhm.
like it would be the same problem as like the new Nintendo Switch. But this was also before they started naming everything different each time. So people would have been
Mm.
able to follow. Like if they went to like the Ultra NES or the Mega NES afterwards, it would have at least people been able to track it because you would have been following it the whole time. Though they probably
Yeah,
should have just went with like the NES, the NES2, NES3 from the very
yeah,
beginning, and that would have worked. Because then people would just shorten it to Nintendo 1, Nintendo 2, Nintendo 3.
yeah. Then we wouldn't have such cool names like Super NES and
Super
N64
NES is a
and
good.
Game.
I want the Ultra NES. God damn it! That's what they need to make the follow
Yeah.
up to the Switch. Give me the Ultra Nintendo Entertainment System.
Well, that's what the N64 was.
It should have been,
It
but it
was,
wasn't.
yeah, it was originally codenamed the 64 Ultra, I
Yeah,
believe.
it
Was
should
the
have just been
original.
the Ultra NES. I would have loved it. But they're like, no, we gotta. It's you know why they named it the N64?
No.
Because of their competition, right? Because Sega and
Oh,
PlayStation, well, PlayStation came out first, but they came out with 32-bit processing. So they're like, okay,
yeah,
if we're going to beat the competition, we need to shove it in their face. Both of them have 32-bit processing. We have 64-bit.
yeah. Well, I knew that part.
Yeah.
I thought you meant why did they call it a Nintendo 64 instead of the Ultra 64 or whatever it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
called.
yeah.
It's-
Well, they should have just called it the Ultra NES, but they had to have
yeah,
that 64 in there
yeah,
for
yeah.
marketing.
Obviously, that's right. What was it? Sega Saturn that was 32-bit,
Yeah.
and the PlayStation.
PlayStation came out first. Like they had to respond to it. Like I know they were already working on a follow up, Like they were already
Hmm.
working towards the 64 anyway. I think they were even originally going to make it 32, but
Yeah.
then they had to up the ante after they came out. But like Sega just or no, Sony just dropped in the middle of Super Nintendo deciding to go with Philips and screwing them over. It's like, okay, fine, here's your 32-bit system. We've already got it developed in the middle of a console war. Like we're entering the fray.
I've been watching some like history and videos and some like technical stuff about technical
Yeah.
specs and stuff like that. Did you know I think this was right. The PlayStation had no floating point
Yeah.
unit at all, which is why some of the graphics will like you know
Yeah. Jitter.
whatever you call it, kind of jitter. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of jitter between pixels, like because they couldn't anti-alias down to the fraction of a pixel, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah, you know what though? They really didn't need it.
No, it's fine.
It's more of a problem with modern like emulation and stuff because we have these
Mhm.
pixel perfect screens where every
Yeah.
single square on the screen is a pixel. But playing it back on like a CRT, you couldn't even tell.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely not. I mean, the CRT would kind of blur the lines anyway.
Yeah, you really
But
didn't need too much anti-aliasing. I know the 64 did, but that's because it was too high of processing that they actually did have to put a what was it, the FXAA anti-aliasing on there. They were like the first one to really use it. Um, but even then, the CRT still masked like half of it.
yeah, and modern PlayStation emulators actually do basically calculate floating point,
Yeah, it was
so they don't
added
have
in
to
there.
have that.
The original
Yeah,
ones didn't though.
yeah. But the if you emulate PlayStation, typically you won't get that jitter anymore, which is kind of interesting. I thought.
Which is funny is you don't have that problem with the Final Fantasy VII ports because they're all the PC ports, which had a floating point put into it in the
Mhm.
first place.
Yeah. Did they completely lose the PlayStation version?
Yeah, it's gone. They have no idea what happened to it. They have done some fixes to the PC port since then. Like now, modern versions, the MIDI properly loops. It doesn't just like stop in the middle of walking around on the overworld and stuff like that, which
Mhm.
wasn't a problem with the original PC port. But they just completely lost the PlayStation version. They have no idea what happened to it. And I mean, I guess they could try to deconstruct an ISO, but that's difficult with the way that ISOs are printed. They'd be better off just like trying to remake the game from scratch if they were trying to do the original PlayStation version again.
Mhm. Well,
Yeah. Now, what else we
how's
got?
this going?
What else we got? I have like 20 tabs open too. That's the problem. Not E3, right? Okay, so we've got a few things coming up, right? So here
Hmm.
is the press conference schedule for the summer that we're not having E3. Starting up first on June 9th, we have the Summer Games Fest Live, which we had already assumed was going to be the big replacement for E3. I think it got more attention than E3 did last year with Jeff
Hmm.
Keighley. Immediately after that, on the same day, is going to be the Day of the Devs. I have no idea what that means. I have to scroll down to find out. No, actually, it doesn't even talk about here what Day of the Devs is. I'm guessing what it is it's just part of the Summer Games Fest thing. It's a oh shoot, we froze up because I have my Windows Media Player open on the same screen
Oh,
as the Discord. That's not like an error of the Twitch or OBS. It's Discord freezes if you pull a window up in front of it.
oh, right, right.
Yeah. The media player was on like a song that was too quiet to be heard, so I had to tab over and I completely forgot to bring the video back up afterwards. But what I think Day of the Devs is, from what I can tell, is it's like the after showcase conference where they talk to the devs about everything, which is honestly the more interesting stuff anyway. I might just skip the showcase, watch any trailers that come up separately, and maybe I'll actually watch the dev stream.
Yeah.
Then on the 10th, we have the Tribeca Game Spotlight. And on the 12th, we have the Xbox and Bethesda Game Showcase, which is just Microsoft doing their thing without E3 during about the same time.
Yeah.
And that is our
Mhm.
that's going to be our big summer schedule, I guess.
Well, in the end of July, wait, June, July? Yeah, the end of July is Anime Matsuri in Houston.
Yes. Yeah.
Not related to games, but anime, which I'm thinking about going to. They opened up the hotel blocks this week, I believe. So it's a little expensive, but
It is.
I might go.
That's why I'm probably not going.
Yeah, I haven't been to a convention in years and years. So the convention isn't expensive. That's actually pretty cheap. It's the
It's the
hotel.
hotel. Yeah.
They're goddamn expensive, but maybe if there are still rooms after my next paycheck, maybe I'll.
Well, it's that and travel, but the hotel is still going to end up being more than
Yeah.
travel. Like I could go without spending too much there, because again, the convention is not that expensive. I know people in Houston, which I believe is where Anime Matsuri is taking place. I could always just crash on somebody's couch that weekend, but then it's like it's still expensive to travel down to Houston.
Yeah, I mean, I could drive there in like a day and a half.
Yeah.
I think it's probably farther than I think, but a lot of
4 hours from me.
Okay.
So it's whatever it would take you to get to Dallas plus an additional 4 hours.
Probably
It shouldn't be too long.
It'll probably take about 8 hours to get to Dallas.
Yeah. I think I can make the trip from Houston to where you are in a single day. Without only stop is like picking up something from a drive-through and continue going. Eat the hamburger out of the wrapper as you're driving. You can do it.
Yeah. Well, I could find out right now.
Yeah.
Through the magic of the interwebs.
I mean, if I can make it up from here to Chicago in a single drive.
Yeah. Well, why is it not telling me? There we go. From Birmingham, Alabama. I was actually pretty spot on, about 10 and a half hours.
Yeah. Sounds right.
I wouldn't go through. Wait, you're in Dallas? Yeah, I wouldn't go through Dallas.
No, you wouldn't. That would take you out of the way. You're better off just like hanging the coast, maybe coming through Louisiana and just going around. Yeah.
Basically, go through Louisiana.
Which is why it's only like an additional 2 hours from coming to me instead of like the 4 hours of going to me and then down to Houston.
Yeah. It's about 10 hours from here. So I could drive that in a day.
Yeah, that's easy.
All right, we'll see. We shall see what my next paycheck looks like.
Isn't Rackets going?
Yeah. Oh, so there's going to be a special convention within the convention specifically for YouTubers. So, and yes, Nick Ricada is basically running that part of the convention, apparently. So yeah, people like Yellow Flash and Cecil and presumably that Star Wars girl and probably like Geeks and Gamers will be there and Nerdrotic, some other people. So that'll be interesting to meet those people, and presumably they're going to have panel discussions of something or other.
Yeah. I will
And then,
look in the budget. I'll see.
yeah,
I'll see if I have it in the budget. Probably won't, but I would like to. I haven't been to a convention in
yeah.
a while either. I think the last one I went to was Retropalooza, which is just like a small games vendor convention here where people are usually selling like retro games and stuff. But they do have panels because they know people. Like I think the completionist showed up and he did one of the panels. I think Boogie even showed up. Like it's such a small convention, but they get somebody like Boogie there. Black Nerd Comedy,
Well,
like that.
well, I could look into rooms with 2 beds
Yeah,
if you're interested.
yeah. Like I said, I'll look at the budget. Yeah. It is definitely. It was one I was interested in. It's just like God, conventions cost so much. Everything
I've
involved
never.
in a convention just costs so much fucking money.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, while you're there, you're basically eating out 3 meals a day and
Yeah.
paying the equivalent of eating out. I've never been to an anime convention, but I have been to a Comic Con.
Yeah, I've been to an anime
I imagine
convention.
it's similar.
Some of my earliest conventions were anime conventions. Because we have, I hate Acon. Acon is the fucking worst. Comic Con is basically just Commerce Con. Acon is the anime equivalent to that. Right. Anime Fest was pretty good. I always kind of like that one, but they've been going more towards the Comic Con Acon type thing. And then we have, I think there was another one. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Dallas has a bunch of anime cons. Like it's what they do out here. My favorite convention was a video game related one though, but that was the Screw Attack Gaming Convention. I don't think anything holds up to that.
Sleep in your car and do the YouTuber car. I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to sleep in my car in Houston. I don't think.
Oh God, no. Well, I mean, it depends where you are in Houston, but most of it, no. No, I remember at SGC because I was the local, right? It was taking place here in Dallas, right? And all these people came from across the country to it, and we were up in the middle of the night in the arcade because it never shut down. They're like, "Yo, dude, we're hungry. Is there somewhere to get food around here at this time?" It's like, well, there's a 7-Eleven a block away. So I'm like escorting everybody down to the nearest 7-Eleven because I happen to know where it is, and I'm like, watch your step.
Yeah.
And we're walking through like a park that's across the street from the Hyatt Hotel. And it's like, why? Because there's a bunch of homeless people that sleep out here and they will grab your legs if you wake them up.
Yikes.
It was a fun little trek. And we got like drinks and donuts and stuff like that and then headed back to the convention.
Yeah. Well, I imagine there's going to be a lot of drinking with the YouTubers.
Oh, yeah, probably.
So, hey, we're YouTubers. So,
Yeah. I don't do much drinking, but I have a single glass of like bourbon or something.
somebody, I think it was this morning, actually, I went and sort of hanging out in a Twitch stream of some streamer, and they were like, "Oh, hey, what was that show I saw you on the other day?" And I was like, "What? The Vomitorium?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I don't know if I saw him in the chat, Konako, Kawaii Chibi Konako. Did you see him in the chat on Saturday?"
No, I didn't.
Yeah, maybe he popped in, but I didn't see him. But
It's nice to
He
know
was like,
people
"Oh,
are actually watching.
yeah, he's like, "I didn't know you were on a show." I was like, "Oh, yeah, everyone's
Other than our lovely chat that's here all the time. But
yeah,
there's some people that lurk.
Well,
They don't let you know that they're here.
yeah. Oh, we keep getting a few people. Occasionally we'll get one more regular. We'll kind of start to show up more often.
And it is perfectly fine to lurk. I like lurking. I hate it when people call out lurkers. If you're a lurker, that is fine. You don't have to interact with the chat. But we do like knowing that you're here if you want to like tweet at us or whatever else otherwise.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What else we got? think,
I don't
yeah,
know.
but I think that's it for summer activities when it comes to game news. It is going to be weird without E3, I have to say. I'm not really going to miss
Hmm.
it because E3's been shit for a long time. Um, like we've said before, I think the shift from caring less about the investors and more about the turning the audience into the investors really
Hmm.
killed E3, and it just took a long time for it to catch up. But it's something that you're just kind of like so used to being there that it's going to be weird that it's not there.
I guess I never really thought about it.
Yeah, but like
I
what
was, I was,
you don't think about it, but you do no matter what get like this huge dump of a bunch of trailers around the same time
oh
every
yeah,
single year.
I guess so.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll still get that
Yeah.
without E3. I think some people like Microsoft they are planning to do their own presentation. And maybe we just won't even notice it's gone because we're still going to get the huge dump of trailers and nothing will feel weird at all.
Yeah, and presumably Nintendo's going to do a Nintendo Direct like they
Yeah.
always do. So
I used to watch it on like G4 back when that was like the way to watch it. And they would do like their X Play and Attack of the Show coverage with the people just like there
mhm.
talking to everyone. But that was many
Yeah.
moons ago now. That was back in like 2008 or 9.
Hmm.
Oh, here's a funny thing we can end the show on. Uh, did you hear that more than 20 years later, the Duke Nukem Forever's 2001 build has finally leaked online?
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 'Cause you remember,
2001, like
like,
the code?
the full
Or
build
the build?
is leaked
Oh.
online. You could play it, and
Hmm.
it was that game that's like it took a decade to come out, and at one point there was pretty much a finished build that they had to like scrap because they made a lot of changes to it, and the game's like way different than it was then. And
Oh,
you
I see.
can
This is an
play,
earlier build.
yeah, it resembles like Duke Nukem 3D a lot more than the final build did.
Hmm. You can play what?
No, you can play it. Like you can actually play the full build.
It's on PC.
Yes. It's obviously you're not playing it legally, but it's out there.
Yeah.
You can play it.
Is that a third-person shooter? I mean, a
No,
first-person
first
shooter?
person shooter. It's a boomer shooter.
First. Yeah,
I
that's
like
what I
Duke
thought.
Nukem.
Whenever I hear Duke Nukem, I always think of Wolfenstein for some reason.
Yeah, it's similar. It's in the Wolfenstein Doom Quake kind of like style of things, boomer shooter. I think I have one of the older versions. I might have like Duke 3D on Steam. I remember playing before that, and Duke was kind of like a parody of those type of games in a way because it was a boomer shooter, but with this like cocky, sarcastic guy, and everything was just funny about the game. It was like
Yeah.
people used to make semi-serious point-and-click adventure games, and then there was Sam and Max. It's kind of like the Sam and Max equivalent to a boomer shooter.
Hmm.
And the Duke talks like this. I'm here to kick ass and chew gum, and I'm all out of gum. I actually know that's the older one. He sounds a little bit different later. The current voice, who's been doing it, I think since the reboot of 3D, like they did a redub of it, and he was the one in forever in a couple of games. But the longest time running voice of Duke Nukem now is John St. John, who I do know. He's an interesting guy. I met him at SGC. A bunch of people did. And we chat on Facebook and stuff every so often. He'll basically become friends with anybody who will drink with him. That's pretty much that type of person. But the problem is Randy Pitchford of Gearbox, because Gearbox owns the Duke Nukem IP now, and he does not like Duke. Obviously,
Why does he own
and
the IP?
I don't know. Randy's a weird guy. But basically, as far as he's concerned, from what I've heard, is either they will have to change Duke or we will just never see a Duke Nukem game again. Because he just does not like the character. I think it's because in the modern climate and the way a bunch of people are, progressive and stuff like that, Duke Nukem is just not a savory character for people with that mindset. Because from their perspective, he is probably the most misogynistic character to exist. But Duke is a great character, okay? I will defend the Duke.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I've ever played it.
Oh, dude, you should.
Obviously, I've seen gameplay of it.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So go out and look for that.
Yes, it's
out there
definitely,
somewhere.
from what I've heard, better than the finalized version of Duke Nukem Forever, which everybody complained. It was a 10-year-old game when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it looked better because they polished the graphics a little, but not by that much. It already looked like it was a generation older than the system it was on, and it played like 2 generations older than the system it was on. It felt like an old, broken game. And from what I've heard with this build, you go in with the expectations of when it was made. It plays like a 2001 game. So it's appropriate to the time it was made.
Cool.
Yeah. We made it to the end of the show.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, and I still have like
Congratulations.
10 tabs open.
Next time.
It happens. We'll forget about it by then. Well, we ended up always talking about like maybe 3 tabs for like 10 to 20 minutes a piece or whatever. But it's better to have more things to talk about than not, in case you run out of stuff to talk about.
Exactly.
Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with somebody else who likes it. Grow the audience. Have some friends. It'll be more fun the more people who are engaging. And if you really enjoy the show, consider giving a donation to streamlabs.com/Vomitorium Live. It helps pay for our monthly hosting fees and might even get my ass to Anime Matsuri. If you consider that. I might have put a bar there. It's like, get my ass to Anime Matsuri. I will do maybe like a live Vomitorium from the hotel room or something like that. Who knows, right? You should get both of us in person for once.
I mean, frankly, I can do it from my laptop. So
yeah, it would be a treat. I can bring all my equipment too. It'd be no problem whatsoever. Yeah, that'd be fun. Maybe we'll change it. I'll change the goal to however much it should cost to get there.
that'd be cool.
But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Bye.